Everybody by now has probably seen AOC's performance at the Munich conference. Everybody has been calling this out, right? Like she was not good on foreign policy. I don't think that really was a strong area of hers to begin with anyway, but she kind of like embarrassed herself here on the stage for people to see it. And a lot of people talked about it. Even, breaking points, even Crystal Ball came after AOC for this, someone who has supported AOC. But what I found out recently is that because there was so much attention on AOC, there was someone else there that was present. And I feel like it was overlooked and we need to talk about it. So just to give you an idea what this conference was like, again, AOC was one of the people, of course, that was on the stage, for this event there in Germany, my old stomping ground. And I just want to show you something she said here about Venezuela. I think that made people go, oh my God, what is she talking about?
And by the way, Rubio and the Trump administration left Maduro's regime intact. And so even whatever moralizing they have about it, they're just as much a culprit in ignoring the election results as anybody else. But also, we have to understand that when they come for one, they come for us all.
So one thing I want to point out here that I think is really important is that when she says that Marco Rubio and Donald Trump left Maduro's regime intact, she's basically saying that was that's a bad thing and that there should have been regime change. And no, that is not the progressive way. Like, she was a Justice Democrat. She knows about this. They're not supposed to support regime changes. She was a member of DSA. She also knows they also don't support regime change. But she has strayed far, far and away, it seems like, from those organizations compared to when she first got into Congress. So it's like she says these things. She's kind of gone off on her own. And there needs to be more pushback from DSA about these statements that AOC says. But I feel like they don't because she is considered to be their rising star. Right now, she is polling very well with young people for a presidential election. Apparently, she has the majority support of young voters when you compare her to the other candidates that were listed. But again, that's because these are the people that the establishment, that, the party apparatus has chosen for you. We have to choose our own leaders. And we're not doing that because they're already being chosen and they're put on a poll before the elections even happen. And it says, who would you vote for? So then you say, okay, these are the people I have to choose from. But it should be the opposite way around. It should be us picking people that are leaders within our own communities and us saying, this is who my candidate is. And this is who I'm going to support. Now, why did I bring this up? Because this is very important when it comes to Mayor Michelle Wu. There's a lot of attention on AOC. And when you compare it to the other members of the squad, the reality is AOC gets the most attention. However, Mayor Michelle Wu, who is the mayor of Boston, I'm here to let you know she is also one of those favorites. And yeah, she's a mayor, not a Congress, woman, of course, but she's heading in that direction. You know what they didn't tell you? While everyone was talking about AOC was at this Munich conference, guess who else was at that Munich conference? Mayor Michelle Wu. She was the only mayor from the United States that was present at that conference. And if you feel as though that doesn't mean anything, you're wrong. They don't just pick anybody to go to those types of events. And out of all the mayors in the United States, they chose her. And I'm going to tell you why they chose her and why they're really trying to push her as well. Those of us that live in the Boston area, we see this happening in real time. I told you guys, I've given you the heads up about how she has been shaking hands with developers, displacing people here, community after community. It didn't start with her, but it's ramped up under her. And she ran on a very progressive message when she ran for office, similar to AOC. But let me show you this. Michelle Wu will be the only U.S. mayor at the International Security Conference. Here's why. So again, do not sleep on Mayor Michelle Wu. Michelle Wu will be the first and only U.S. mayor invited to join an international security conference in Germany this weekend. Wu will be traveling to the Munich Security Conference to sit on a Saturday panel focused on city leadership, according to a statement from her office. Listen to this. Boston is a leading global city, and it's an honor to be invited to share our progress at this important global forum for democracy and international collaboration. Our city is known around the world as a beacon for freedom, and I look forward to connecting with leaders in government, business, education, and more to encourage greater investment in Boston and partnership for our shared future. So first of all, let's talk about global city. All right. Yeah, Boston is a hub. That's what they call us, the hub. There are a lot of people here, like because of the universities that are in the area, whether it's Harvard, MIT, Boston University, Northeastern University, etc. It attracts a lot of people to this city, right? But along the way, what has happened is that Boston is getting further and further away from that blue collar working class city that many of you see portrayed in Hollywood. This is becoming a city for those who have money. And if you don't have money, it's not easy for you here anymore. That's the reality. When she says here that she wants to encourage greater investment in Boston, she's not talking about investment for the working class. She's talking about investment for people who have money. Most of the things that come into this city are for people who have money. The revitalization in the Seaport District, which used to be pretty vacant except for Harpoon Brewery, which was down the road and it was not much there. All that investment that went into Seaport are businesses that are expensive. These are things for people that have money. So if you are lower income, you're less likely to go to the Seaport District to go to those businesses, not because you don't want to, but because you can't afford to. All you continue to see is luxury condos, another fancy movie theater, another arcade place. The arcade places are pretty cool and nice, but they're expensive. Everything there is expensive. Same thing is happening in some of the, more lower income neighborhoods like Roxbury. I told you guys about this before. Roxbury is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Boston. They continue to build these luxury apartments and so-called affordable housing that nobody can even afford. A lot of those affordable housing buildings are vacant because people can't afford it. Affordable is not, you need to make $100,000 a year. That's not affordable. At least not to me, right? So she's on that train of this whole globalized city, more investment, but the investment is going into the wrong places. Let's continue on here. Wu will be joined by Mayor Rafal of Warsaw, Poland, and Mayor Vitali of Ukraine. The Munich Security Conference has been held for more than 60 years and is typically attended by government, defense, and diplomatic leaders. The panel will be the first time the event has hosted an all-mayor panel. She was the one that was chosen from the US. And I want to say something else. All this talk about Zoran Mandami, he wasn't chosen to go there. They chose her. Goes on to say here, at the conference, Wu is expected to announce that Boston has joined the Pact of Free Cities, a network of mayors determined to stand up for progressive values and fight against nationalistic populism. You hear this? Populism. Travel costs for Wu and 2 staff members were covered by the event organizers. The Pact of Free Cities. So this is where they get people. The Pact of Free Cities, founded by mayors of Visegrad 4 capitals, This includes Bratislava, Budapest, Prague, and Warsaw. In 2019 is a global network of mayors determined to stand up for progressive values and fight against nationalistic populism. But when you're standing up for progressive values, that means that you're implementing policies that are going to benefit the working class. You're not implementing policies that benefit the rich. This takeover of White Stadium, which she co-signed with these 4 women, those 4 business partners, that project is now over $140 million, and that's on the taxpayers. Is that progressive? No. Took away a stadium from a Black neighborhood, a stadium that was public in a public park that Boston Public Schools utilized for football games, for track meets. Now they ain't got nowhere to run. Now they don't have nowhere to play football. All because 4 women came to you and said, we want to buy this stadium because we want to bring a U.S. women's soccer team to Boston. As if Boston needs any more sports teams. And one of the things I've paid very close attention to is that the reason why you hear people say, oh, Boston is the sports town, Boston is a college town, Boston focuses on all these things, is because as long as you're paying attention to how many Super Bowls the Patriots won, how many times the Red Sox are going to the playoffs, how many times the Celtics are going to the playoffs, as long as you're paying attention to all these things, and the Revolution, I want to forget about you guys as well, you're not focused on the fact that the poverty line in Boston is abysmal. You're not focused on all the people who are struggling here, who grew up here, because everything around them is being gentrified. And that is part of her leadership and the leadership that came before her. So it's not just her, Marty Walsh, Mr. Union guy, and also under Mayor Menino, who was mayor for over 20 plus years. It's been a long time coming. And I say pay attention to her, because when we talk about who these candidates are taking money from, let's see where she aligns when it comes to AIPAC. Because see, this is something she don't really talk about much. Boston City Councilor Wu's AIPAC connection. This was mentioned back in 2021. And see, at the time, and you know, shame on me. At the time, I was not paying attention to this. And that's on me. She ran a progressive message when she was running for mayor. I didn't look into all of this, but these things are resurfacing. Did executives of foundation of a former AIPAC deputy director in New England give $3,000 to Councilor Wu's campaign committee in 2021? So I'm trying to tell you, Mayor Wu is very pro-Israel, for those who don't know. She's been confronted about it multiple times. It was actually Jewish Voices for Peace that discovered this bit of information. So let's get into it. Yet during the 7 years that Councilor Michelle Wu has been sitting on Boston City Council, neither Boston City Council nor the mayors has formally endorsed the U.S. peace movement and Palestinian Solidarity Movement's BDS campaign. In 2021, Councilor Wu has apparently not agreed to formally endorse the BDS campaign in 2022 if elected as Boston's next mayor in November of 2021. And that's why I said shame on me, because I didn't know about this at the time. Boston gave $10 million to Israel, but we got people sleeping on the street. So what we really got to do is we got to push back on people using this rhetoric that says, oh, progressive except for Palestine. No. You can't be progressive except for Palestine. You're not progressive if you're out here cheerleading against what's happening, cheerleading for what's happening to occupied people, because you really can have it both ways. So a lot of people don't know about this. And I'm warning you now, because when she runs for whatever she's going to run for next, and she already got the donors lined up, whether it's Congress, whether it's Senate, whether it's governor, you all need to remember this. It goes on to say here, coincidentally, according to Wu's committee financial disclosure forms on January 25th, 2021, the campaign committee accepted $1,000 campaign contribution from a former deputy director of AIPAC, a group that opposes the BDS campaign. His name was Jay Rudderman. He is currently, at that time, was the president of the Rudderman Family Foundation. Less than 3 months before making his $1,000 campaign contribution, the former New England AIPAC deputy director had also interviewed 2021 mayor candidate Wu in a special episode of the Rudderman Family Foundation, produced all-inclusive podcast show on November 17th, 2020. And look at what they called her. It was titled Boston City Councilwoman and Rising Star Michelle Wu. So I want you guys to pay attention to the whole rising star phrase, because I saw this written about Richie Torres. We know how he turned out. It's been written about AOC. You see how she's been, voting along for Israel in some ways and then saying she's against it in other ways. And anytime you have the establishment telling you a politician is a rising star, that means they're a rising star for the establishment, not for the working class. We continue on more here. According to the Rudderman Family Foundation website, besides being a former deputy director of AIPAC in New England in 2005, Mr. Rudderman enlisted in the IDF and became a liaison between the IDF and diaspora Jewry. And after his service in the IDF, he returned to AIPAC as a leadership director for AIPAC in Israel. She also accepted campaign money from Brookline, Massachusetts, Sharon Shapiro of the Rudderman Family Foundation, and also campaign money from Rudderman Family Foundation Executive Director Shira Ruderman. Shira Ruderman served 3 years as commander in the intelligence unit of the Israeli army. So I'm showing you all of these things so that you understand she's pro-Israel. She already took the pro-Israel money, and I just don't want people to be fooled. Now, people say, well, how was she able to win re-election? Well, first of all, she had Josh Kraft running against her, who is the son of Robert Kraft. They're billionaires. Josh Kraft moved to Boston a year prior so that he could run as mayor. So he was not going to stand that type of chance. And then he dropped out of the race earlier. There was also an independent candidate that was running against her, but he wasn't allowed to debate. So that's where the independents lose the traction, right? If you can't get on that debate stage, a lot of people aren't going to see you. That's no fault of his. But I will say this. It is time for people in the community to start picking their own leaders. Start picking the people you want to serve the people. Stop letting the parties and the establishment select these people. And if you haven't figured it out by now, Mayor Wu was selected. She was selected early on. There's a pipeline they seem to come through here. Harvard Business School, Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, Deloitte. There's the pipeline, and the establishment loves it, right? So while everyone was pointing fingers at AOC, this one really snuck by people. I think people should also be more alarmed that only one mayor from the United States was also at that conference cheering on those same efforts that AOC cheered on in that little speech there. And that was Mayor Michelle Wu. Keep an eye on that one. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.